Bolivia was the third country on my journey around South America, and though I saw some incredible places here, such as Ciudad del Encanto with giant sand peaks, different lagunas like Laguna Verde, Laguna Colorada with its flamingos, Laguna Pastos Grandes with many gorgeous flamingos as well, we went to Sol de Mañana geyser, drove through the massive Dali Desert where we saw rocks standing like true masterpieces. I watched the sunrise at the world's famous Salar de Uyuni and walked on the salt flats. I admired the incredibly beautiful scenery on the road trip and saw so many llamas. I also got to see Lake Titicaca. Still, Bolivia created some bittersweet memories for me. This is where my backpack was stolen, the incident that ended up changing my travel plans around this country. But let's start with the beautiful memories first. I took an overnight bus from Salta in the north of Argentina to the place called La Cuaica, from where I walked to the Bolivian border and the town of Villazon. Once the visa was sorted, I headed to Tupiza, the nearest city from where most of the famous tours around the southwest of the country take place. While being on the way to Tupiza, I kept pinching myself. Am I really in Bolivia? Did I just get here by bus from Argentina, walk across the border, and now heading to one of the southwestern cities in Bolivia? In the meantime, the scenery had already started to amaze me, and I was so looking forward to seeing what was ahead of me. And while you continue to enjoy the scenery along the way to Tupiza, let me tell you something really unique about this country, and this is the altitude Bolivia sits on. The elevation of Villazon, where I arrived, is 3,400 meters above the sea level. And by the way, La Paz, the capital of Bolivia, is the highest capital in the world. Considering that most people arrive from the places with much lower altitude, such elevation difference impacts many. The air is significantly thinner, the body absorbs less oxygen, so many get to experience nausea, breathlessness, fatigue, headaches, and so on. So once in Tupiza, and these are pictures from there already, I went to the hotel first, and here's the view from the window. Then walked around the town, which is not that big, but quite nice to see. I later stopped at one of the travel agencies and booked a 4-day trip that includes some of the must-see places in the southwest of Bolivia. The road trip has always been my favorite, if not by using my personal transport, then at least getting a private tour, such as this one, which is probably the most popular way to travel around this part of Bolivia. There are normally 4 to 5 people in a car, your driver is also a guide, and there is often a cook along with you to prepare meals on the road. The trip started off by passing by El Salar, or the Saddle, located 17 kilometers northwest of Tupiza, which is where a road straddles a narrow ridge between 2 peaks and 2 valleys. The views are truly spectacular here. We stopped there for some time to walk around and enjoy the scenery. The road can get pretty busy during high season though, so the driver needs to be specially experienced to navigate. As we were driving, we saw lots of llamas. Something interesting about llamas is that they are very social animals and live with others as a herd. Llamas can learn simple tasks after a few repetitions. Amazing, isn't that?
No, lamas.
No, estos son lamas. Vículas son mucho más delgaditas.
Sí, mucho más chiquitas.
And off we went further. It was already lunchtime, so we stopped in one of the local communities and our driver and the cook arranged this meal for us. Not bad, I found. And then we were ready to move to our next destination, the Ciudad del Encanto. It's certainly worth a visit. This geological formation of sand is like a veritable citadel planted in a deserted place, and it looks magical. We were also lucky that there was no one except for us, but normally this place can get quite busy with tourists. We also went inside it, and what a surprise it was when the guide pointed to the outline of the South American continent map. Incredible! I enjoyed visiting this place for sure. Back on the road again, and we headed to San Antonio de Lipez, ancient miners' village that has been practically deserted with the mine's loss. The town of San Antonio de Lipez was born as an enclave for the exploitation of silver. 50 years ago, it was abandoned, and today, only its ruins remain. A town that had 150,000 inhabitants and today is a ghost town. There are some legends surrounding this area, and here it goes. Legend has it that its workers made a pact with the devil to give them wealth through the mines. The miners did not keep their part of the pact, which killed all the mine workers. Sometime later, the rest of the inhabitants began to see ghosts, and strange facts occurred, which triggered the abandonment of the town. Not sure whether it was a legend or the altitude we were at right now, but I developed a splitting headache. Remember, I mentioned that Bolivia is characterized by high altitude, so it is not surprising that you get headaches or feel weak. What the driver gave me to treat my headache was their local medicine, coca leaves. Apparently, chewing coca leaves or drinking coca tea are proven methods in dealing with altitude sickness, and the coca plant has been an age-old remedy since Spanish colonization. What an experience indeed, huh? It was already getting dark, so we stopped at one of the places, designated I suppose by these tours. Because we were traveling during the winter time in the southern hemisphere, it was freezing, really cold. I can't tell you how many layers I was wearing, and in the morning, we would need to wait a while till the drivers started the vehicles. And this was one of those mornings when we were sent off for a walk while they worked on starting our cars. This was a place where I made a new friend. Look how cute she is! So once the cars were ready to go, we continued our trip. There were some major stops we made to see some important places, but we would occasionally get out of the car to take some pictures. And though the day was clear and beautiful, it was so chilly as well, as you can probably see by looking at me here. What I loved the most about that road trip was the scenery. I was kind of glad to be traveling in winter here, as it offered the views of places like mountain peaks and volcanoes covered with snow. We were already in the Andean Fauna National Reserve, by the way, which is the country's most visited protected area. This national park has an elevation of almost 4,200 meters. We were repeatedly advised by the driver to keep coca leaves with us in case we felt sick. So the beautiful place where we stopped soon was this beautiful Laguna Colpa, which I just couldn't stop admiring. And like that, in this chilly weather and breathtaking scenery, we were approaching the Terma de Polcas hot springs. I guess I was pretty cold at that point, that I couldn't care much about getting myself into the water. So no, I was not one of those happy people in the hot springs. But I was happily taking pictures of them and surroundings. This particular place is very popular among travelers, so no wonder it is equipped with showers, bathrooms, and dining area where we had our lunch. After lunch, we continued our road trip to one of the most scenic places while enjoying the magnificent views along the way and having the best time of our lives. Being so high above the sea level, seeing the snow is not surprising, is it? And here we are, one of the most scenic places in my opinion, Laguna Verde, or Green Lake. And as the name suggests, it is very green. It has high concentrations of lead, sulfur, and calcium carbonates. And due to the high mineral content, the waters of this laguna can remain liquid at temperatures as low as minus 22 degrees Celsius. But these same minerals give the lake its fantastic green color as well. The picturesque nature of Laguna Verde is further enhanced by the presence of volcano Licancabur, which is considered a holy mountain. I was truly lucky to be able to witness this nature wonder in front of me. We then went to Sol de Mañana geyser, one of the most spectacular geyser areas I've ever been to, at a height of almost 5,000 meters. The hot steam of the geyser reaches heights of between 3 to 15 meters depending on the pressure. It's really cool to walk over the sulfur springs filled while watching the bubbling mud and the boiling lava, but definitely one needs to be super careful here since there are no railings to hold on to. Wow, I was overwhelmed by the number of such fantastic places we were visiting, and the next was not less admirable location. Laguna Colorada, or Red Lagoon, is a shallow salt lake peppered with white borax islands. Actually, this is how it looks if you come here during the summer with a great camera. Folklore suggests the water is actually the blood of the gods, though scientists seem to believe the color comes from the algae and rich minerals in the water. Laguna Colorada is arguably the most famous lake in the region, both for its striking red waters and the thousands of pink flamingos who come to feed on its plankton. Well, I was not lucky to see thousands of flamingos, just a few, I guess due to the winter. And like this, the day was coming to its end, and we spent the night at this place, which was as cold as the place before. That's me, wearing multiple layers to keep warm, and you can tell how cold it was during the night. So, from the moment we reached Laguna Verde until now, we have been moving around a place called Desierto de Dalí, or Salvador Dalí Desert in English. It is named so because it's characterized by landscapes that resemble surrealist paintings by Salvador Dalí. And these rocks have in fact become famous for this matter. This is called Árbol de Piedra, stone tree in English. The next picturesque stop was Laguna de Pasto Grande. It is a shallow salt lake located in Bolivia's Pastos Grandes volcanic caldera. Fed by intermittent rivers and springs, the lake contains high concentrations of lithium, potassium, and boron. It was so beautiful there, and because it wasn't as windy, so much more enjoyable to hang out amidst this incredible nature. Finally, I could see flamingos here. And did you know that flamingos are actually white by nature? And they gain their bright pink color due to the beta-carotene, which is a red-orange pigment within algae and brain shrimp flamingos eat in the wet environment. Since this is the case, their color happens to differ depending on their location and the kind of food available to them. There we go! I didn't know that until I was exposed to these gorgeous birds here. This laguna was the last major stop, after which we stopped in a nice scenic place just to have our lunch. What a great experience it was to enjoy the meal outside with such wonderful views. We were already heading to Uyuni, our final destination, and here is another location where we stopped to take some pictures. Our accommodation for the third night was located close to Uyuni already, and was probably the best out of all we had at that point. The next day, very early in the morning, we were heading to the highlight of the tour, Salar de Uyuni, which is the term for salt flats. There are two most popular times to visit this world wonder: sunrise and sunset. And there we were, at the Incahuasi Island, which to indigenous people means House of the Incas. If you are wondering what this island is about, it is a rocky outcrop of land of what used to be an island in Bolivia located right in the middle of Salar de Uyuni. And such a name, the House of the Inca, points to the importance of the place to the Incas. Before the Industrial Revolution and invention of jeeps and other things that make our traveling so much more comfortable, locals would actually use this island as a temporary refuge when they were crossing the salt flat. The Incahuasi Island is now considered as one of the most stunning sights in Uyuni. Not only a beautiful spot, but this island also makes for a beautiful panoramic view over the salt flats. It is covered with native species of cactus. How grateful was I to be there and watch the sunrise over Salar de Uyuni. I got to walk on these salt flats after the sunrise and look at this hexagonal-like design. By the way, this particular shape is because of the freezing and thawing processes of water. As a result, a fascinating geometrical design is created. The total area of Salar de Uyuni is about 11,000 square kilometers. There was no way we could see it all, but what we did was enough to absorb the magic. The happiness I was feeling was just through the roof. And we certainly had a lot of fun taking different pictures there. There are two major looks that those salt flats take: vast beach-like salt flat in the dry season and the mirror-like salt lake in the wet season. Gorgeous, isn't it? Well, I didn't even get to choose since I was there in July, the winter time, but I was surely grateful to be there. So this 4-day tour was coming to an end. After getting the most we could from the salt flats, we were dropped off in Uyuni, where I was already on my own. Uyuni is the tourist hub, the city where most travelers come to experience the salt flats. Next, I was heading to La Paz, but the bus was only in the evening. It was fine with me to spend half day wandering around Uyuni. After all, it is another city in Bolivia. Why not see the most I could while being there? I liked the vibe in Uyuni, mainly thanks to an extensive street market in the city center. The music was playing from all over, Spanish songs, lots of vendors smiling, but not being pushy, selling it all. I walked a lot that day. After all, we had spent so much time being in the car and driving around. I really felt I need to stretch my legs. I even found some basic vegan food, and in the evening I got on the bus to go to La Paz. And this is where the journey turned from great to stressful. My backpack was stolen at the bus station. My laptop and camera were gone just like that. But I was still lucky because the most valuable things were kept with me. The incident really spoiled my mood, and do you think I cared about exploring La Paz? Not anymore. So I don't really have much to tell you nor show you about the city, except for some photos taken by others, just so you can see what I had missed while being in this city. One thing I really wanted to see about La Paz was the world's most dangerous road, also called Death Road. It bears this name because of so many accidents that had happened in the past, especially when this road was the only one to connect La Paz and Coroico. Now, with the emergence of the new, better road, this one has become more of a tourist attraction, especially for cyclists who come here to enjoy the views and adventurous cycling paths. And yes, I wanted to come here as well. This had been my plan before the backpack incident. Alright, back to my personal experience and story. Right the next morning, I hopped on the bus and went to Peru. But before getting there was a must-visit place to stop at, Lake Titicaca, which is right on the border between Bolivia and Peru in the very Andes Mountains. So the plan was to go to Copacabana first, a Bolivian town on Lake Titicaca, then cross the border to Peru and head to Puno, a town in Peru. On the way to Copacabana, there were these great opportunities to see how beautiful Lake Titicaca is. One of the places we stopped at before reaching Copacabana was Tequina, a small town, and I happened to be there during one of the local celebrations. It was so much fun and joy to see it. After Tequina, there were some more awesome opportunities to enjoy the beauty of the lake. And when I reached Copacabana, I was pleasantly surprised. What a nice little place! The whole vibe was so warm and friendly. What a difference it was from the feeling I had a few hours ago in La Paz. After walking around the town and just feeling chilled, I went on a trip to Isla del Sol. You can see here that Lake Titicaca is a deep, the dark blue color shows it clearly, large and freshwater lake, which is also referred to as the highest navigable lake in the world. It lies at 3,800 meters above sea level. How cool is that? And here's the Isla del Sol. It was first inhabited more than 5,000 years ago, although more than 80 Inca ruins found in the island are fairly recent, from the 1500s. In the times of the Inca, it was believed that the sun god was born here in this island, hence its name Isla del Sol, Island of the Sun. In modern times, agriculture is the main source of income here for the locals who inhabit this island, with tourism being another significant source of income. Another thing I did while being in Copacabana was climbing the Cerro Calvario to get the view of the town and especially Lake Titicaca. I really enjoyed being in Copacabana and overall in this area. So relaxing and peaceful, and it definitely helped me to recover from the incident the day before. And I even made this new friend here. So how was my trip to Bolivia? If not consider the incident with the backpack, it was great. Bolivia definitely has spectacular places to see. I loved the Laguna experience, the salt flats, and definitely this gorgeous Lake Titicaca. But at that point, I was ready to go to Peru and its famous Machu Picchu. But this is something I will tell you about in the next video about my South American adventures. Don't forget to subscribe to see more of my travels in South America and the rest of the world.